looks like there is no only Greece and Bulgaria, maybe, who oppose right now the start of negotiation in Macedonia.
I haven't heard about any other states. On the contrary, I follow the bilateral visits or talks of your leaders with some other European Union member states, and practically all of them were expressing their support for your future.
We could not see this support right now in the session of the Council of Ministers.
That's true, because that's the moment of truth. It's nice to have good friendly bilateral meeting, to be assured that how the different countries are behind you, but it counts when it comes to the vote in the European Council. So I don't want to advise, but I think that much more attention should be given by your officials, government officials, to the relations with each individual countries. In the end of the day, countries are deciding. You need to make more, not campaign, but maybe activities.
But more and more member states are raising the issue of the democracy, freedom of the media, democratic capacity, political dialogue.
That is what your government should be aware of. That the freedom of media, the democratic governance of the society are basic issues, and the country will be judged by how these criteria are fulfilled. And more, it is not possible, I'm not implying anything, because we know some politicians in some countries, not in Macedonia, who think that they can, outsmart us, that they can do something pretending that it is implementation of these European standards, while it is not.
Do you think that is the case in Macedonia?
No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is in case Macedonia.
But despite the fact that those points were replied several times here in the Parliament, in the Commission, that Macedonia has to show better performance in the freedom of the media, democratic capacity of the institution, the situation is still very same. So I'm asking, what about the so-called soft power of the European Union to move things forward?
Soft power, you need to...
Having in mind that the situation is not simply changing in Macedonia, on both of the issues, freedom of the media and the democratic capacity of the institution.
I think that very important thing is that the political partners of your political parties back in Macedonia, European People's Party, political group of the Socialists and Democrats, they, I think, should work more intensively with their partners in your country, quietly, without making any big announcement, to push them gently or dramatically to change us.
You're a member of EPP. EPP is very supportive toward the ruling party in Macedonia, which is very welcome, of course, that we have a friend in the European Parliament.
Yes.
But do you think that EPP, as a major political group in the European Parliament, should be much more engaged in order to help Macedonia to improve in some performance, such as related with the European core values, freedom of the media, democracy?
We are engaged in dialogue with your leaders, our political partners.
And what they are saying when you're mentioning such issues?
We are doing it in international fora. We are sometimes traveling to Macedonia. We receive your leaders.
Okay. When you open the question, Mr. Prime Minister, what's going on with the freedom of the media? I mean, what they're saying, what he's saying.
He gives us his explanation and promises to listen to our pieces of advice. That he is trying, that he's engaged in dialogue with the media. There was some working group which he was participated also, but it seems it's not enough. It's not enough because I think that when you are saying that situation is not changing by much or situation is more or less the same.
I'm not saying myself. There is Reporters Without Border, Freedom House, many relevant international organizations who are saying that the situation is very bad.
I take a message for us that we should be in that dialogue with our partners much more intensive, much more open, and much more having in mind the interest of the whole country and its society. This is difficult sometimes.
Yeah, when I'm reading or listening the criticism of the relevant international bodies about the state of the freedom of the media in Macedonia, it looks like very much like in your country in the mid of 90s in Slovakia during the Mečiar time. What's your experience from that time? I mean, having in mind that you had a serious problem with the democracy and the freedom of the media, and those issues like democratic capacity and the freedom of the media was the very same for Slovakia as today those issues are about Macedonia.
I remember that time very well, and maybe we are best qualified to talk to your leaders on our personal experience, because that was a real big problem for Slovakia at that time. You know, we always compare ourselves to the Czechs, and Poles and Hungarians. And they started their accession negotiations. Maybe in economy and so on we were as good as they were, but there was a deficit of democracy. Very authoritarian rule of the government led by Mr. Mečiar. The medium of Fridia was theoretical issue because it was not there, and country suffered because of that. And when the election in 1998, moved away Mečiar from the head of government, Slovakia started moving very fast, very quickly to along the
personally, as a citizen of Slovakia and a politician, what were your feelings at that time, being citizen of the country where there are some problems with the European values?
That was frustrating situation. That was a personal frustration because we, in good intentions, were trying to say something, and we always were accused of having some outside connections, that foreign embassies are paying us and so on and so forth. So that was very traitors, enemies of the people, and we want all bad things for Slovakia, that we are not patriots and something like that. It was frustration.
It sounds very familiar for me, because in a way I am also, I was treated as a traitor. It's some company. Yeah, but you have been one of the moderator of the panel in the Speak Up conference, last week here in Brussels, and Macedonia was one of the issue there. What was your opinion?
It was interesting for me to hear. Yeah. It was interesting for me to hear because there were many journalists, and the Macedonia issue was very actively asked. And from what I heard was that there are many representatives from Macedonia who are not satisfied with the current situation, in the country. Maybe there were others who have different opinion, but objectively many of Macedonia spoke in that big audience, expressing criticism about the situation in the country. I think that it was important for Commissioner Füle, who was sitting there, to listen to it so that he can take necessary experience from the discussion. I'm sure he's going to do it because he's personally very much involved in discussion with all the countries. So I think that this discussion objectively is going to turn into objectively positive conclusions.
Mr. Kukán, what's next for Macedonia? What's your forecast for Macedonian European perspectives?
The fantastic thing for Macedonia would be to resolve name issue. That's one thing.
Is it realistic to expect such a solution? I mean,
I'm pessimistic about it,
why?
to tell the truth. Because it's going like that more than 15 years or something like that.
Do you think that there is a political will on the both sides, or some of the...
You know, really we need two partners. We really need two partners. Each of them is saying that it is ready for compromise. We have the strong American diplomat, ambassador who is doing it.
Greece look like not so interested to resolve this problem, and not enough political will maybe in Greece to move forward. But do you think that in Macedonia there is such a willingness?
Well, I think that Macedonian government understands that without resolving this issue, every other initiative will be difficult to achieve. But let me answer to your question very fully, completely. Name issue is one thing which would really help the country very much. The other issue is really to go ahead with the implementation of those issues which you are criticized, or which your government is told that it is space for improvement, there's freedom of media, democracy, and so on and so forth. So if this is going to be developed, I think it will be another strong argument in the country, in the government of your country. But being very, very practical, without our experience so far is, without resolving the name issue, it would be still very difficult. But if you have the better fulfillment of the issues connected to the European values in Macedonia, if you have the more reforms about judiciary and all the things, then it will be more and more difficult to not to recognize it and not to move ahead with the concrete negotiations.
Mr. Kukar, my last question. Could we expect, as a civil society in Macedonia, I mean, that EPP, the major political party in the European Parliament, parallel with the support of the government, which is very welcome, as I said, is going to help also to the implementation of the core European values in Macedonia? To be much proactive, because you must recognize that EPP was not so active in this sphere.
I take your criticism. I think it is our duty to behave equally actively towards the NGOs, toward the civil sector. I think it is equally our political responsibility, and you will see that we are going to be more active in that field.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kukan.
Thank you for your interest.
Ако гледавте интервјуто со словачкиот европратеник Едвард Кукан, ви благодарам за вниманието, се гледаме во наредното издание на Еврозум.